All right. How's it going, everybody? We're kicking it back up. We're going to have Fiona McLellan here in just a minute. She's downloading the app. Let's see. Let me set this up. If these shows resonate with you, please share. All right. We got 11 people in the house, it looks like. Let me see what we got going. 15 people. All right. Fiona's going to be here in a minute. And how's it going, Mary Lou, Heather Houston, Colin Ball? What's up with you? Linda Caraway, Philip Weinston. Good to see some new faces in here. Let me make sure we're good. Oh, wait. Okay. Hang on. I got to tell Fiona. All right. Tara Marie, how you doing? You're new. Welcome to the Soul Train. Aloha, Linda Caraway. BB Chan, what's going on? Sabrina Mick. All right, we've got some new faces in here. Richard Lowry, Angel Divine, Mary Kavork's in here. Let's see. All right. There she is. All right. Hang on. I can't hear you yet.
Too live. All right.
What's happening, man? What's up with your hair, man? It looks great.
What's up? I know. I got so much hair, hey?
It's growing like crazy. Whoa.
I know I was going to dye it red today, but you interrupted me with a random, let's do a show. Yeah.
You know, that's the best way to me. Just,
yeah.
You know, just do it when it feels right. And see, you know, I went to my friends list and I was doing a radio show and I was just going down the line, just hitting people up. You want to do something spontaneously. And we were going to do something spontaneously about 6 weeks ago. And
yeah.
There was an energy out there. Remember, there was an energy out there that was surfacing, which was a lot of projection. I think that's what it was, if I'm not mistaken. And there was some incidents, and we were going to talk about that. And
what was happening? I can't even remember. What was going on?
I don't know. There was just a lot of projection, you know, a lot like right now in the last couple of days.
I remember. Yeah.
And, you know, and you know, I think, you know, we all need to give ourselves a break and each other a break, and it's okay. We're not bad people. We're not dark souls. We're just getting through this transition we call ascension. But
because there aren't any dark souls.
That's right. That's right.
In my world.
So that's right. So that's what we were talking about. It's relevant now.
Boundaries. That's what we were going to talk about. We were talking about the concept of oneness and boundaries and how those two things marry. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah,
so
that's a favorite topic of mine.
Yeah, so we're just doing this in the flow. We got some new faces here. I'm Todd Medina. This is SouLSpeaks 5D. This is our primary broadcasting vehicle on the Soulogy Network. This is my dear friend Fiona McLellan from Australia, and she's been on quite a few times. And for those of you who don't know her, I just wanted to introduce myself and her to you. Hello, Beth Buslach and Ricky Hint. Got a lot of new faces. Kirsty Belleville is here.
My thing says that there's 999 people watching. Is that correct?
You know,
What does yours say?
I don't know. It's 24 here. But here's the thing. Let's bring this in. Hello, Jeannie Campbell. Let me just say a very, very special gratitude to Jeannie Campbell for this right here, which has
trying to get my best side.
Kept Soulogy Network in business for over a year. That's her.
Hey, am I able to share this to my, or will you share it to my?
You want me to share it to what?
Just to my page, I guess.
To your personal page?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can do that. Hang on. So what I wanted to say is in the flow of all this is we had some stuff happen to us today that was less personal in terms of people projecting on people. We're talking energy here. So let me share this to you. And I'm going to tell you what happened because it's the same energy, at least from my perspective, what happened to the Soulogy Network and what's happening to it. And then I'm going to throw it over to you. All right.
Okay.
So, okay. All right. Hang on. What happened was Michael Van Patten. Oh, where'd she go? Well, here's that energy again. All right. All right. We got 30 people in the house, 31 people in the house. She'll come back. So, but I want to tell her what happened. So let me give her just a couple of minutes. Hello, Sridhar Haldankar. 10 million viewers, and we can do that. And that's what I wanted to tell her and tell y'all.
Coming back.
900. And there you go.
I'm back. You're still frozen. What have I done?
I'm not frozen.
Shall I go out and come back in
All
again?
Right. No. Don't go out. Let me go.
Whack. Something's happening. I'm currently live. Now I'm live on my own. I don't see comments.
Can you hear me now?
I have no idea if anybody can see me. Oh, and I turned it around.
Can you hear me? You can't hear me?
I can now.
Okay. So, all right. So, hey, Mumbai's in the house. Kathy Waldowski's in the house. All right. We got Ruby Lara's in the house. Okay.
I don't see comments, so I can't respond to anyone.
Are you on a phone? Are you on a
yeah.
Okay, so you can't see him. All right. So, all right. Let me tell you what happened. So, Michael Van Patten, who's been helping us with the Soulogy Network, dear brother, has gone into the SouLSpeaks 5Ds, cut them up into 6-minute, 3-minute, 9-minute segments, and then put some graphics, an intro and an outro to it. So I've been testing it as we move towards our own site and our own private server and streamer. As we know, we're walking in superabundance, and we just keep pushing it that direction. But so what happened was I've been testing it on Facebook and testing it on YouTube, and it first started with Facebook. And I think these are the same energies. This is what I want to get into to start. So because so much of the time we look at these energies as, hey, she did this or he did that or I did this or I did that. You know, this is the same thing, I think. So what happened was...
Do you mean she did this? Do you mean as in people wanting to own what's happened as being their thing? Is that what you mean?
No, what I mean is that when we talk about projection and we talk about the impact the energies has on us, and there is no right or wrong, that it's energy. And there's basically two types of energy out there, and it's not a good or bad thing. It's just, one of them is an energy of reaction, and one of them is an energy of creation. Let me put it that way. So what happened was I started playing 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours of this mixtape on Facebook. And what was happening was the metrics were showing us that for the number of people that came in, they were watching for 12 to 14 minutes, which is a very long time in the internet age. Our SouLSpeaks 5D shows typically go about 7 minutes, 6 to 7 minutes. And in the internet age, 2.5 minutes is considered very, very good to have somebody actually watch for that long, right? So what happened was I started doing it on Facebook about a week ago. And the more I did it, the more they started shutting us down, which is what happened on the SoulogyOneStudios page where we started, in the Soulogy group. The same thing happened there. But about 15 months ago, I started doing them on my page. And most of the 645 shows have been on my page. We've kind of gone under the radar. and beat the algorithms. So when we would come on, there'd be 50, 60, 80 people, 100 people, at the beginning of a show. But as we started playing this content over and over again, these little clips, they started squashing us, and I started getting all these messages. I'm not getting your notifications. Da, 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 da. At the same time, I went to YouTube 4 days ago, and I played 12 hours collectively over 3 different days of this mixtape. And I got a love letter from YouTube today that said they had removed the videos, that we had violated their policy. And I asked them about it, and they told me it was because of the content. Now, we're talking about a mixtape that has content of ascension topics, of paranormal experiences, of our skills and abilities that are expanding, of the actual transition of our carbon-based body to the light body. And it's, I would call it the truth. Okay. Not because I'm part of it, but because that's the frequency that has expanded Soulogy. And it's just one portal or vortex throughout the world that's doing the same thing. My point is that, to me, that energy that has threatened, well, we've got 1 strike now on YouTube. We got, I think, 2 more before they shut the channel down. And it's, what you're familiar with the programming. It's nothing volatile. I mean, it's nothing, striking out against the government or raising any hell that we know as light keepers. Feeds the fire, feeds the monster. We're here to grow each other and activate each other. But I think it's the same energy as these projections that I see going on. And I'm not saying that I'm, absolved of doing something wrong. I mean, I know, not to say wrong, but there's times I project. These energies are heavy. They're coming in fast. I haven't talked to you in 6 weeks. So we can maybe even start there, and we'll get into that later. But what's it been like for you? Because have you gone quiet? I mean, I haven't been on that much, but I haven't seen you that much. I saw you, I think, 4 or 5 weeks ago doing some stuff, and then kind of disappeared. I saw a picture of your son on the beach and a pretty cool post the other day, and your hair's grown back.
It grows like a weed. It just grows like a weed. So just a question, did they quantify for you, or did you ask them to quantify what they meant by the topics and how it was a violation?
They told me content.
Did they? And that's all they would say? You didn't continue the conversation? Could you clarify?
The content wasn't appropriate. Well, I mean, it's pretty cut and dry,
Well, if it was me, and I suggest that you go back to them and say, because in using words in that way to get through, to say to them, I'm really keen to use this platform, so I just feel like I need some clarity, because the conversations we're having are not aggressive, and they're not having a go at anybody. So I just would like you to quantify what it is about the content. Could you give me the policy and clarify for me? I would do that if I was you. I would just say, I would really like clarity around this so that I don't violate your guidelines, But that's, I would do that.
Well, let me tell you too.
And I would also say that oneness is a threat to systems of division. And so, and it's so complex, and oneness itself is so complex, and it's so easy in the conversation of unity. We are so deeply ingrained, and so much of it is subconscious. And one of the things that I see in conversations in a wide variety of places, including very much so spiritual circles, because it's almost like the last bastion. And so I often see conversations that are almost perpetuating that which they seek to overcome, and that's something that we're all walking the line of, these deeply entrenched conditionings that are so, because we're so brilliant as humans, we're such brilliant human beings, so we're brilliant beyond our imagining, and so our subconscious is so brilliant at finding new pathways to perpetuate the old thing, you know. And so I think that's one of the conversations that's really up on the table at the moment. And you know me, I'm very earth-based.
Yes.
I'm not one to publicly much talk about 5D stuff. That's just my mission, whatever you want to call it. I'm an earth-based person, and my voice is earth-based about probably almost or more preparing people's minds to be able to entertain the enormity of what we are and what we are not. Yeah. And my sort of goals are about, you know, so often when people try to entertain, not only is our subconscious brilliant and slippery and trying to take us back in other paths and we think we're entertaining something different, we're in the exact same place, but it's scary. It's really scary. I saw a quote today that said, "Are you really sure you want to heal?" I'm just asking because it is a heavy weight to be well. And I think so often we think about being well, or essentially we think in terms of being light on a variety of levels, whereas in fact the process itself of waking up is hugely heavy. And it's so that's more why I'm sort of earth-based. And one of the things that's really up for me, where I've been, is I've been back on the road up in the Kimberley again, and right out on country with amazing Aboriginal women, and no power and no internet, just water and you know, camping. And so that's one of the things that's just
let's go.
Just pick in shit, you know, just so.
I want to talk to you about
amazing.
That. I want to talk to you about that. Let's go back to, and we'll come back to this. Let's go back.
Yeah, we'll come back to that.
Two buzzwords. Okay, one. Let me go back into my. Okay, one. In further in creating the proper backdrop to your question. The interesting thing is that I never really pushed Soulogy on YouTube. So we didn't have a whole lot going on. We had maybe a little over, like 1,015 subscribers. 4 days ago, that was true. Today, there's almost 1,400. So there was over 350 people that responded to the 12 hours of programming over 3 days in a very positive manner, you know, in a huge influx of subscribers without any solicitation. So keep that in mind. But what I wanted to do was bring this back to marrying the collective energies when it's non-personal and it's more of an institution or an energy that's more than one person, such as a YouTube. Okay. Now, so the other word that you had brought up was boundaries. And so this is where my train of thought has gone as I've watched myself and others in the energy of, and as I do my work, as these energies are coming down, because there's no doubt with all the different expressions and posts being put out from people that we're all familiar with, they're all talking the same thing. This is, you know, this, I mean, and they're getting a lot of different expressions. Like I'm getting my ass beat. I'm expanding. I'm laying down. I'm drinking a lot of water. I mean, everyone's feeling this energy. It's quantum. So my question is, or my thought process was, I'm gonna throw it back on you, was that, okay, if this was a person I was dealing with, then we could get into the, I don't want to say the old discussion, but the discussion that we have been having over these years that we've all been transitioning together, which is about boundaries. And then I thought, well, wait a minute, it's not a person. So what do I do? And I thought, wait a minute, what I do is, this is quantum. So wherever my focus is going to be what my reality is and what I materialize. So if my focus is to use this as an opportunity to establish that website that's private, with a private streaming and private cloud storage server, and to broadcast and bring all these personalities, all these fellow brothers and sisters souls into a multiple channel network that's available on an app, instead of focusing on fighting YouTube or fighting Facebook, but accepting this as my call to go forward. Now, so how do we, is that the same energy? And if that's the case, the boundaries is taken out of it. Can that apply to the personal level, one-on-one with people?
Focus is the ultimate boundary. That's an ultimate boundary, which is where in a plethora of even just from the visual data, in a plethora of data, whether it's within your own system or whether it's on digital media or whether it's just walking in the forest, there's a plethora of data constantly available, screaming for attention. And so focus is actually the ultimate boundary. Focus is saying, this is what I choose. And I would also say that, there's a fine line between boundaries and fighting and clarity and fighting. So in seeking clarity from YouTube, it's not fighting them, and it's the way that you approach it. If you're saying, I just would like clarity about what it is that the problem was, and you're not saying to them, well, I think that's wrong and we're really not, or anything like that. You're just saying, I would like clarity. But then to leave that behind, because what you're talking about is this happening to drive me in the direction of where my focus needs to stay, which is getting into my own website, and is just not going off and doing YouTube and doing this and doing that and pouring all of my energy and my focus into that. And
I love what you said. I love what you said, that boundaries is the ultimate. What did you say? Focusing is the ultimate boundary. And what I'm seeing in my mind's eye, because again, I'm looking at an energy that's not a person, and I'm looking at an energy of people as we all engage and interact every day. And I have a great example that happened yesterday. But what I'm saying is that the focus being the greatest boundary. And I see like this focus, like with blinders on. So so in other words, like if it's a person now, and I want to go back to what you said about the clarity thing, because this is beautiful. So if it's a person and not a thing, all right, and I'm focused with blinders on from my highest intention, from my heart, do I need to explain anything to anybody? And here's where I'm going with this, is that I had a friend who I've known for a long time, and it doesn't matter. And that's the whole point. A few weeks ago, and in fact, I think it was what happened when we talked 6 weeks ago. It was an incident that happened, one of several. And I ended up just unfriending the situation because of boundaries, right? But they wrote me back and they said, this is stupid. And my ego said, well, I don't even know what this was about. I was accused of this or that, or I don't even know. I don't remember, and I don't care. But at the same time, unity consciousness is unity consciousness. And if somebody is going to take a step forward, and what I love what they wrote, the last two sentences they wrote to me was, I don't even care. All I want to do is focus on my work and being a better soul, being an expanding soul. Aho, brother, And I took their last two sentences and I just copy and pasted it right back to him and said, okay. And when we were friends again on Facebook. But so back to what I was saying, the clarity thing, do we have to explain anything to anybody? If we're focusing, our energy speaks for itself, does it not?
And it's not even that. It's not do we have to, it's do we want to. Do we want it? It's again about focus and choice of the use of your energy and the focus of your energy and the focus of your time. And I think this is a really big part of really coming into being a conscious creator. And to do that, you have to be willing. There's massive sacrifice. I've had massive sacrifice in those that are closest to me, my absolute beloved, my children, my grandchildren, really big stuff, to have to say, no, I'm not going to engage, and I'm just not doing it. And so if people come to me, and this was going on for a while for me in the last few months, if someone's got a problem with me, I'm just not interested in talking about it anymore. I'm really not. I don't want to spend my time anymore. It's just like, look, I don't care if it's their shit or my shit or anyone's shit.
That's right.
If you've got a problem with me, I'm looking for people who don't have a problem with me. I'm focusing my attention to connect with people who resonate with me, and people who don't resonate with me, I don't really want to talk to it. Now, this is part of, we've all done for a very long time, people in personal development. We have for a very long time, we've been in more of that headspace of, okay, let's sit with this, you know, and let's work through it. And that was really valuable. Let's just talk about myself. I have for a very long time. In fact, I was almost attracted to the drama. I would go where the contrast was. It'd be like, oh, contrast. Okay, let's go and sit with that contrast and let's work through it. And that was really valuable. and it's fertile and it's valuable and it's a certain part of the process. But I think the next step of the process is when you say, oh, okay, I'm done with that. I actually don't care. It's not even I don't care. It's just that if you don't resonate with how I am, go and find someone that you do resonate with. Now, there are people that are close to me that if they come to me there are people in my life that if they came to me and said, I am really concerned about this thing you're doing, I would give them space and I would give them time. But you know what? They don't. Because those people that are really close to me and my really close connections, and I would give that time, they're not doing that because they're the people that I'm choosing in my life. And there's a few of them that have always been there. But mostly it's new connections, and it's just making new connections and go, yeah, we're vibing. And you know what? If we stop vibing, no worries.
Yeah,
moving on, because my focus is to find who is vibing with me. And that doesn't mean that we never disagree. That doesn't mean that they sit around going, you're wonderful and I agree with everything you say. What it means is that we have a certain way of dealing with our shit.
Yeah.
And I don't go to, if I find I'm not resonating with someone, I no longer go to them and go, oh, look, I'm really concerned about this and I think that you should, do. And I've done that for a really long time.
Yeah, we all have, though. And that's a great,
we all have. And
that's a great point, because what happened when this friend of mine wrote me and said, I'm going to send you a friend request, and this was all stupid, and what I said that they wrote, my response yesterday was, or 2 days ago, whenever it happened, was, hey, I don't have a problem with that. I'm open to that. I said, but we're going to have a conversation. And that's all I said. I said, and I said, we're going to have a conversation, and if everything aligns, that's cool. And if it doesn't, we can shake hands and part company. But what happened was, in the time that I wrote that, up until today when I answered them back and accepted the friend request, I accepted the friend request with little or nothing written back. I just wrote, I copied and pasted their words. Okay. And the reason I did is because I realized that for me, I was going to sit them down and say, look, this has happened, and this has happened. If it happens again, I'm done. Okay. But then I thought, well, wait a minute, whose ego, and it doesn't even matter, because ego is an energy. So we either engage it, or like you said, the highest, what'd you say? The highest focus, or focus is our greatest boundary. And I know that's a quantum explanation, but it resonates. I align with that. Our focus is our boundary. We don't have to explain anything to anybody. We don't have to talk about it. They can just see us, and they can either align with us or they don't. And there's nothing wrong about that.
And my focus is joy. My focus is joy. What I want to expand. Now, you can have joyous sadness. You can have joyous anger. You can have, for me, it's not saying, and this is another important thing for me, that is not saying that I'm not going to deal with someone who's sad, or I'm not going to deal with those emotions in myself. But I just don't want to use my time anymore having those conversations.
Yeah,
but then you did this, and it's like you said, it's projection. And what I think is, I will definitely go away and think about, if I had a situation like you had, there's no question I would ponder alone. I just don't want to ponder with someone else.
Hey, you know what? That's a great rule of the road for the ascension. Ponder it alone. Don't talk to somebody else about it, because because they're just going to.
And don't even talk to the person about it, because what you're going to end up in is projection, like you're saying. And what's most often happening is that you and this person, for instance, there is a wealth of something vital for you both in this situation. That's what I'm talking about when I say I'll ponder it alone. I don't just wipe them. I just say, I'll go, okay, this is pissing me off, but I know there's something here for me. There's really something, but I don't want to work it out with them. I want to work it out with myself. And if they can then go and work it out with themselves, and they can come back to me and go, fuck, I really get that this is this thing that was here for me, and thank you, and that contrast that we have. But I no longer want to spend time working it out together. I don't want to do that. I don't want to have those conversations. I've had enough of them. You're and right. My focus and your boundary, and this is what I think, particularly with powerful-minded people, man, at the moment, you just expand things. I am expanding things so fast that if I slip off over here for a moment and put my focus on, well, you and I know, and but I didn't, and but it was it.
Bring the baby powder and the diapers, man.
I expand it and I blow that shit everywhere. So I have a responsibility to myself and to the world to keep my focus on that which I want to expand. And if I don't want to expand it, I'm not doing it.
Or you're not doing it. You need to, or whatever. But to thine own self be true. We got a great comment here, which I think
I can't see any comments.
I'm going to put it up here. So
look at my bright red cheeks.
So Shannon Joy Pryor says openness is not always projection, or vice versa. Now this we'll both handle this one. I'm going to just say this. That's very true. That's very true. But there's nothing, there's a lot of activations involved in everything we do. When we can meet, that's what I loved about what happened with this exchange with my friend and I, with little or nothing said, there really was just, hey, let's let all that crap go and let's hold hands and move forward together. But what I was going to say is some of the things we say in honesty, honesty is honesty, perspective is perspective, and we've got 8 billion different perspectives on the earth. So what I'm trying to say is we can be aware of the things that we say that might hurt somebody. And it's not, I'm a big believer in stating your truth. That's what this show's all about. But I think when it comes to this transition, it's been tricky and it's been changing. It's been changing. We've been elevating and expanding. I've seen a lot of evidence of that over the last few days. And, the energy is getting easier to be, like my friend said, I just want to be a good person. Now, that's a powerful, simple, profound statement to me. I just want to do my work. I just want to keep becoming a better person. If you have that intent and that desire, we're in a quantum experience now. This is not linear anymore. When we focus on something, it develops and materializes.
Well, what I also think that language is so important. You can't become a better person. All you can do is remove the veils that prevent your view of the fact that you've never been anything but the purest and best person. You can't. There's no need to become better. And even in that act of saying I want to be better, there's a falsity in that indicates it's possible that you're not.
You're right.
And even
just like the word healing,
absolutely, because is there anything to heal, or is it just removing the veils? Removing.
We've got to clean them all out. And that's a big leap.
To know that your intrinsic purity has never been touched by anything you've done or anything that's been done to you. And this is true of Donald Trump and Hitler and everyone else. You stand Hitler and Donald beside me in front of Source. There's no more love for me than there is for them.
That's right.
The veils of the behaviors that we can, and I've had lots of experience with behaving in a just really fucked up way. And then you can say I've hurt people. Well, I don't think you can really hurt anyone who's an equal. You can hurt children. You can hurt when you're in a position of power. You can hurt as a teacher. You can hurt your students. As a priest, you can hurt your parishioners when you're in a position of power. But in general, you can't hurt anyone if they don't choose to be hurt. Yeah. And it doesn't matter how hideous you are or what you say. If you choose, if someone comes along and just says the most hideous, terrible things to me, I can choose how I feel about that. Yeah, I can choose. But this is a really important thing for me as well. And this is a really important thing for me in the law of attraction, because I think it's really, really important, because I think one of the spiritual bypassings that's going on that's really, really, really important is the concept that when somebody is fully traumatized, is really, really, really traumatized, and they're smack bang in the middle of the trauma. They're not talking about a trauma that happened a long time ago and they've done a lot of work. They're smack bang in the middle of the trauma. To say things to them like, you just need to think differently about it, or even worse, you created this, or
don't say anything.
And here's the thing, those things may well be 100% true. When you reach a certain stage in your own development of understanding that you've created everything that ever happened to you, which is horrifying in the beginning. But if you truly get that, and you get it on a heart level, you don't go around saying to traumatized people who've just been gang raped, you created this, or you just need to think differently about this, and then it will be a different thing. This may be true, but what you are able to do is either hold space for it or not. And this is the thing about this whole thing about focus and what you choose to engage with. Part of the problem with doing it is sometimes it looks like you don't care. And you just have to, it can look to other people, and you have this concern that if you just go, bang, I'm not engaging in that, then it looks like you don't care. And you get accused of not caring, and you get accused of being, and you have to have your big girl and boy panties on to be able to know yourself, know that you do care, know that when you shut down on something, half the time it's because you don't even feel like you've got the space to address it properly, whatever. But it's a big one for women, I think, and it was always a big one for me, that for a long time I had this vision of this person that I was and that I was reaching for. But what I was scared of is that I could see that she was so warm. She was real love, the sacred feminine love, the love that is not rainbows and fairies, but there's nothing wrong with rainbows and fairies, but it's shit-kicking hardcore love. Yeah. And to some, it might look cold.
That reminds me, I've been in Kauai for 4 weeks, and there's been nothing but dragon energy since I've been here.
Dragon love,
apparition, a very different kind of thing, like a mother goddess frequency that has a power. And I even wrote about it the other day. I said, I have never encountered an essence or an energy like this. The power of it is incredible. So it's well beyond that nurturing and the typical.
But it's that as well. But it's not only that.
But it's also the masculine. And now that's another thing. I wanted to bring up 2 points and ask you what you think. One is there's been quite a bit written in the last week to 10 days. And I would define it as this, or explain it as this, that the old masculine archetype, warrior, all that, is splitting from or splitting apart from the masculine in general, is this other energy which applies to all of us, which is that enough. That's enough. It's time to go to work. In other words, like Lisa Brown said last week on that show, she said unconditional love, but no. What you were saying earlier, basically. Now, what I wanted to ask you too was there obviously is an expansion of what we're taking in, what we're knowing, both consciously and not. And I think a big part of that is the galactic. And so this unity consciousness, because I had a couple of experiences over here in Kauai with reptilians. And I opened my heart. And based on the results, I think that, you know, I was in alignment. I know I was, because I received a lot of other downloads and information as a result of that, and confirmations. But unity consciousness is across the board. It's not just man and woman or the different races and religions and cultures here of the 8 billion people. It's the entire star family. And my question is, how impactful are the individual one-on-one personal exchanges we have throughout the day on the internet and in person? How impactful are those or not on the universal star family, to lack of a better word, healing or realignment or reunification?
You know, again, I don't get into the galactic conversation, which doesn't mean I don't have a powerful galactic connection and identity. But this is what I think. We are the universe. We literally are the universe. And one of the ways that I think that you can see this is in the physical body. And, you know, I'm very much into embodiment, intention almost. And when you think of, for instance, Incension.
I'm going to steal that.
And
that's going to be as good as, it's going to be the best bumper sticker since Shift Happens.
Incension. And it's that when you think of, what comes up for me is that when you think about the various indigenous cultures and spiritual circles talk about the song lines in the earth, the ley lines in the earth. Yeah. So you've got the ley lines in the earth. You've got the star tracks in the galaxy. You've got the connection of all the little stars. And then you've got the human being with their nervous system, which is remarkably like the universe, remarkably like the song lines and the ley lines in the earth. It's all these little tracks of interconnected, sparking, interconnected stuff inside us. So I think that, you know, we get back to the concept that the single most powerful thing you can do in the world is within yourself, and is within those everyday singular interactions that you have, whoever it is that you're interacting with, whether it's a leaf or a person or anything else, that keeping your focus and keeping your focus on a curious openness to the world, and at the same time as where I can, I'll have really clear boundaries and say I'm not engaging in that. But then there are times where something comes along, whether it's on the street or it's anywhere else, or it's, you know, where something's just there. Something's just there, or someone is just there and they're in your sphere. And this is where you're using your talents of all those years of working through shit to try and hold space for that thing that comes in. How can I stay in alignment with myself while this thing that looks like it's not in alignment, which goes back to what you're talking about, reptilians, you know, when I am faced, and it doesn't matter whether it's reptilian, whether it's someone shouting at you on the street, it doesn't matter, anything external that comes along and is full on, I have a choice to know its source, to see its source, and I fully believe there's only one source. And when things mutate and become love in the inverse, they're still love, but they've just inverted. And so I believe the most powerful thing that you can do, and this is where the boundaries come in for me as well. So with some of my nearest and dearest, in order for me to maintain that vision of what they are, what they truly are in amongst what they're being, I need the distance, because the closer, and maybe one day our goal is that we can walk through the most tedious things, and like Kuan Yin, every footfall flowers grow in the underwall, you know, under the underworld as we walk past, and that's possible, and that's my goal. Not there yet. Not there yet. So I need distance where I can.
Absolutely.
And when it's put in front of me, well, most of all, when it's put in front of me, it's just me.
And okay, so in going back to the collective to the non-personal. When I say non-personal, it's not a person. It's a YouTuber, it's a school, or it's a government, or a doctor, whatever, medical, whatever. Is it that, or is it a personal thing? Going back to that, what about this? Would it be safe to say that anything external is external? So it doesn't matter what it is. So whatever that force of energy we perceive as being put upon us, impressed upon us, when we know that everything is one, so to speak, could we not consider everything, in the best sense of the word, everything external is shadow? We are soul. We are that universe. So our focus, back to what you said, the highest, the best, the greatest boundary is our focus. If our focus is on our internal knowing and our internal well-being and expansion, it would seem to me that it would be an effortless parallel, an effortless consequence that our external would begin to change.
Yes, and it does, doesn't it? Because, and I think the shadow, it's only the shadow, if our focus is on our intrinsic goodness, simple, the intrinsic goodness of all things, no matter what disguise it comes in, the intrinsic goodness of yourself. And the more that you focus on and understand the intrinsic goodness, source, good, God, good, it's goodness, good, the intrinsic goodness of everything you come across, that's the only protection you need. That whether it's a reptilian or a mad psychotic person with a knife at your throat demanding your wallet, if you can maintain your focus on their intrinsic goodness, that's the most powerful act that you can take, and things change. And if you're radiating that deep knowledge of your own intrinsic goodness, yes, the external will reflect that. So therefore, when the external brings you something else, again, you only go inwards and go, I'm not reflecting my own goodness, or this wouldn't come into my realm. It really wouldn't come into my realm. And my God, it's such a bloody complicated conversation.
It is.
Because it's easy for us white privileged people to sit here and have this conversation. Now that's a whole nother level,
I'm here to bear it all. I mean, I'm not saying I'm different than anybody. I'm actually saying, I'm just, what, it is quantum now, and it's moving so fast. I asked this kid, Dane Jones, the other day on the show, 22 years old, lives on the beach, eats coconuts every day. I said, what does this look like to you? What does this look like to you? This transition, what you're seeing? He said, it doesn't look like nothing. It feels. It's a feeling. Everything is a feeling. That's what I'm saying with the whole thing, the profound, simple statement made about focus being the highest boundary. Now, that's a quantum statement, but basically, if your focus is on what you know is your own perfection, and you're moving past all that
joy.
Stuff, yeah, exactly. I mean, all the things that we are.
Then you will feel joy. Then you will radiate joy. And then joy, then everything, then you will not only attract joy, but things that come into your sphere will become joy, so you don't even have to be healing anybody by just being there, holding space. A person's in your realm and they're traumatized and they're whatever, and you're just radiating the goodness of them, the goodness of you, the goodness of whoever's done hideous things to them without saying anything. Then that is a transformative energy for them to be able to start to see their own goodness and so on and so forth. But I just think goodness, good, God, source is where it's at. And to be able to see the goodness in all things. And I'm having a brain fog, which means there's something either you or I said that I know what it is. It was white privilege, because that's been a really that's been a big conversation for me, and I'm actually about to start a 28-day challenge. I just did a live yesterday that was called "I Am a Racist," which I deliberately called it that to get attention, because if I just said racism, it'd be like, well, no one wants to talk about it. And this is one of the dangers of the ascension conversation or the law of attraction conversation or the focusing on positivity, it's not contrary to positivity to talk about white privilege or racism, to talk about in fact, it's so important because white supremacy, the system of white supremacy, is the ultimate system of division that has been perpetrated on all of us. And I do believe it's a really important conversation that needs, a really important part of that conversation is to, I'm just live, darling. I'm on the thing. Child coming in. A really important part of that conversation, I do believe, is to understand that it's not about although there is oppressed and oppressors. I was born into the role of oppressor. I didn't ask for that, but I was born into it. But actually, it's bigger than that because there's a system that's oppressing us all by placing us in roles of oppressed and oppressor. And it's not, and so therefore this system of white supremacy, which is very easy when you start getting into it to see how people who are black, specifically, specific, not just brown, but black, that for me, the root cause of white supremacy is actually about the division in the human heart. It's about a system that is controlling us all by expanding the division in the human heart with our shadow, by encouraging us to reject our shadow and not embrace all of ourselves as good, by encouraging us within ourselves to say, this is good and this is bad, and I did this thing and that was acceptable, and I did that thing and that was not acceptable. And then we project it outwards into the world, and that system is what's kept us divided. So although I think it's important to move this conversation at some point to understand that we have all, just the same as the feminine and masculine, men, it's oppressive to be an oppressor. We've all been damaged by this. But I think it's also important to not bypass the very real lived experience for people of colour, for women, but right now I'm talking about people of colour and that system of white supremacy.
Let me ask you this, because I think this is what you're saying. Is that system, is it really external, or is that system in us? Is the matrix not in us? I think the matrix, the
division is in us.
Transformed. Yes, of course. I'm just saying. So if that is in us, one thing I'm becoming more and more a believer in every single day is that, and this is what I love about what you said about talking about stuff, because the more we're aware, awareness in itself opens code in us. It opens code in us, just being aware. Like you or me, either one, no matter what our life experience was 10 years ago, our awareness was totally different. We had no idea the things that we were doing because of the conditioning that we went through. We had no idea. But as we go back into this thing, and it's a quantum thing happening, and it's moving so fast, these are just as we can be triggered in an instant, we can also flip a switch in an instant and get past some things much quicker than we ever could before. And this is the type of thing, to make a video like you did yesterday. That's the type of thing that does that, in my opinion.
It is. And to say I am owning the very deep, ancient conditioning within me that I'm not even aware of. And this is the whole point. It's about the subconscious conditioning, whether it be men and women, whether it be black and white, whether it be rich and poor, whether it be whatever. One dear friend said, soul has no color. Yes, soul has no color. That is correct. But we're living in this world for a reason, and we're living in bodies, and we're living in a system that's been going for a very long time, that's been dividing us based on color. And yes, it's true that,
and a lot of
other things as well, and a lot of other things as well. But the color thing, and then somebody else said, yeah, but Indigenous people and black people can be racist too. Absolutely. There's no question. And is there any excuse for that? And I understand that, it may be in response, but does that excuse it? No, there's no excuse for hatred. But it's about understanding the difference in the racism that's come, and I don't even like using the words, but I just use them, black and white, to not waste time falafeling. The racism that comes from Indigenous or black communities is not impacting our everyday lived experience. They have a lower life expectancy. In my country, they're 98% of the prison population and 4% of the actual population.
Yeah,
our 9-year-old children are not committing suicide. We don't have the health outcomes. So there's very real earth-based results of even those of us who would say, worst statement ever, I'm not racist. Well, we all are. The point is the subconscious racism that we're not aware of, and how
that's right. Maybe the word is
and how
biased.
we comply with the system, and how we profit and we privilege from the system.
It could be sexist too, homophobic. It could be. But let me ask you this, because I don't want to run out of time. You mentioned
we've been on for an hour. Oh my God.
Almost. You mentioned
cocoa and chili tea. Oh my God, it's so yum with coconut sugar. Amazing. Yeah,
hey, I'm eating fresh. I'm drinking fresh coconuts over here. Okay. Anyway, what I was going to say to you was, well, you said over the last few weeks since we last talked, and I saw pictures. Now, and I know that obviously, as you continue to expand and self-reflect, that your time that you spent, I'm not sure what it's called, the tribe or whatever it was, but where did you go, and what was that like? You took a little sabbatical with your son. You went to the river, or what was that?
So I went up to the Kimberley, which is really the really remote north Western Australia. We've got 10% of the population on 50% of the continent in Western Australia. So there's not that many people here anyway, but there's even less people up in that quarter. Wow. It's a really rich hub of still active culture and country, and often up there, the simple fact of so many people living on their culture, on their country, which has been messed up unimaginably, but there's a high percentage of people living on their country up there, which is what the culture is, the connection to country. And I'm really careful about speaking through my lens, my white lips and lens, about what it is and how it is. But I want to say this in terms of all of our whole conversation. The 5D is not new. That culture is 5D. That culture is multidimensional.
Who are they? Is it a tribe?
They are the oldest. Well, they are the Aboriginal. The Australian Aboriginals is the oldest living culture, arguably for some people, on the planet.
So you were hanging out with the Aboriginals?
And there are those that say that it's Aboriginal people that seeded this planet. Yeah. The Australian Aboriginal people, and their culture is 5D. 5D is not new. 5D, and we're having all of this conversation about this new thing. Actually, it's not new. Multidimensionality is not new. Those cultures at their core, but there's not only is the nature of the culture and law, LORE, is private, secret, not to be shared, but then all of everything that's happened, so much that's been experienced in this country, makes it even less likely for a lot of people to want to share. There's been so much misappropriation. But I think it's a really important conversation in the 5D conversation to understand it's not new. It's a return to the original culture of this planet, and I'm of the and galactic. This culture is galactic. This culture has got pictures of people from outer space written in cave drawings, and this is true of many Indigenous cultures, and true of the Hawaiian cultures with the Lemurians and all of this stuff, and Sedona, and so I think it's a really important connection, and I also think there's a connection, the suppression of the sacred feminine. I do believe that the Indigenous and original First Nation cultures are a representation of the sacred feminine. And the suppression of those cultures on this planet is interwoven, and the the way children, we treat in general as a Western world children, and I'm not talking about the big, heavy conversations because I don't want to go there about the abuse of children. I'm just talking about the general way. For instance, you know, I go into these communities and these children who are often living in third world conditions, but there is a respect for their elders. There is something in these kids that is so alive, so connected, and it's their culture, and it's, you know,
I mean, if they're that untouched, it's in their DNA.
Well, they're not that untouched.
I mean, because they're living. I mean, but I mean, as we understand now, from a quantum level, that we are writing and rewriting our DNA at all times. That's basically what this fear-based programming did, was, you know, through our own consent, whether we knew or not.
being complicit, you're complicit whether you're conscious of it or not. You're still complicit, and so I do.
And that's how we can re-ravel it, you know. I mean,
well, one of the things that is most, for me, and me and my son experience it both, when we hit, so you travel for hours and see maybe 2 cars, and there's no hours and hours between places, you know, and there's something that happens for both of us when we get out there. And I really quantified it more last year when I camped for 3 days with 1,500 Kimberley Aboriginal mob.
How did they accept you? I mean, how did that go?
I was just a fucking interesting tree that came into the landscape. It was just there's no. This was the thing. There's just no. This is what. I've never had such a strong sense of belonging. And that was because of the silence in the airwaves, the silence in terms of thinking energy. It was just like some unusual animal had hopped in.
So did you walk in and say, "Can I camp here?"
I rang up and said, "Can I come?" And they said, "What do you want to come for?" And I said, "Well, this is why I want to come." And they said, "Well, you can come." And then when I got there, nobody questioned me. Nobody asked me what. I mean, I did end up through magic last year, going with an elder and being with their mob. So, you know, I wasn't just on my own. I was with them.
How you mentioned your son. How old's your son?
Oh God, we could just so get into that conversation. In terms of racism, my son's 10.
Okay.
So
and how you said it affected you and him. How did it affect him, the experience with him?
He's just at peace. He is homeschooled. He has a lot of sensory overload stuff, the same as me. And there's a peace in the airwaves. There's a lack of constant thinking about everything. You know, there's not this, it's more just like this sitting in your body, watching the parade, watching the movie, watching what's going on.
Yeah, instead of the hurry up and wait.
And instead of there wasn't all this loud energy of who is she and what is she doing here and what's that white woman doing here and why is she here and what is she and someone should do something about this and what she. Whereas if that was a group of Western Caucasian 1,500 people who had come together for a specific purpose, if somebody turned up in the midst of that who was so clearly did not belong, they would be questioned, they would be bailed up, they would probably be kicked out. And all that happened is that on the very last day, this really old man, and he'd been playing Didge every night, and he called me over, and he calls me over, he goes, "Hey," and I went over and he said, "Who do you work for?" And because all the white people there were working, cooking, cleaning, you know, for them, or caring for the elders. And I said, "Oh, I don't work for anyone." And he went, "Right." And he said, "I saw your son there," because my son would go and sit really close to him when he was playing the Didge. And I said to him, "How'd you know he was my son?" And he looked at me like, he looked at me like, are you serious? You know, he just sort of looked at me like this. I went, oh, yeah, okay, it was pretty clear. And then he said, oh, yeah, he said, so you're coming next year? And I said, I am now. And this is a total of about 5 sentences.
This is
the conversation we had was so complex, but it only took 5 sentences.
Yeah.
You know, whereas he got everything he needed to know from me saying, I don't work for everyone. That was it. He didn't need to know anything else.
Yeah. Now, are you referring to the time now? Are you going back?
No, I'm actually referring to last year.
No. But I mean, are you going? Did you say you were going to go soon back again?
I was meant to go back this year, and I spent all year trying to get back there, and I didn't make it for the AGM, and that was really painful. And I actually ended up prolapsing my neck disc because it was this year, 2018, the year of letting go of everything. And I think we've all become really good at letting go of shit and not grasping on to ideas. But this was one to get back there and honour that invitation was so important to me, and it meant so much to me I couldn't let it go. And it was right at that time when it was so close that I was like, it's not going to happen. I can't manifest this. It's too late. I can't actually even get there, literally, physically in time. And I prolapsed my neck disc because I wouldn't let go. I was just like, this has to happen.
That's important. Yeah, that's important. I mean, I've been through the same thing with this 365 thing, trying to get this thing off the ground. And I finally got to the point where I said, you know what? Stop being so self-judgmental and stop, we're quantum. We're not linear. That
loosen up. Yeah.
Yeah. There's no deadlines. You know what I mean? So, what do you have any plans before we shut this down? Do you have any plans for the next few weeks? Are you going to be doing anything exciting? You going back?
Well, actually decided, despite all evidence to the contrary financially, that I'm going off to an amazing, I just found yesterday, there's this called the Manifest Dreaming Festival. And I'm really excited about it because I've never seen one quite like it. It's in Harvey. If you Google Manifest Dreaming Festival Harvey, Australia, you'll see it. And it's very, it's really exciting. I've just never seen one quite like it.
Now, is it that over here they have what they call transformational festivals, which, has music and such, but
it's exactly like that.
Okay.
But this one is more focused on the idea of we are conscious creators, we are creating everything, we are responsible for everything, and at the same time it's linked in to the Indigenous people. I'm really excited about it. And so actually seeing that, it's already started. It started 1 o'clock today, but I'm going to go tomorrow.
Man, you should do some lives from over there.
I would love to do that. And it got me back on the joy bus because there's been a bit of culture shock in coming back home and being in 4 walls and really just going, I don't want to live in a house. And before I went away, I decluttered my whole house, and I get back and I just go, what the hell is all this stuff? Stuff is the matrix, but that's another conversation. I just am so aware of all this stuff, and I had sort of gotten to a bit of a blank space where I was just going, I was off the joy bus, and then finding this festival and going, oh, that's right, every day is an exciting opportunity. What are we going to create today? What are we going to do today? I can do whatever I want to do. I can go wherever I want to go. There are no limitations. There is nothing. That's all bullshit. Throw it off. I'm going to this festival. No, I've got no money, and it's $180 a ticket, and I'm just going. And so then I just got back into that conscious creating of going, it's not about creating the money. It's about saying, I'm going, I'm seeing myself there, and keeping yourself open to the ways that can happen.
That's another great point. That's a whole other show right there.
It is a whole other show.
I just came out of the same energetic situation today. I went through a period of about 10 days to 14 days. And I was in the middle. I wasn't like creating magic. I was a little bit, but I wasn't in my fears, but I was a little bit. And so what I realized was, I thought, wait a minute, you know, here we go back to the focus and the boundaries, you know, that quantum statement you made. So I said, you know what, if I just focus on what I'm doing, then it'll take care of itself. If I'm going there, if I'm going to that festival, it will have, it's done. It's a done deal. We make these, we make these things happen energetically. Yeah. They happen energetically first, and then they come out on the timeline, and we all know they're happening faster and faster. I mean, I had
and you align with the energy of being at the festival. You're not even thinking about making it happen. You're there, and you're dancing, and you're experiencing it, and it's all of that stuff. But it is a whole nother show, because I think the balance, that's the masculine, that's the using your universal mind to really clearly state your preference. But I think that the balance that you need to have with that is the feminine, which is the balanced nervous system, which is the presence to, whilst this part of me says, this is my preference, this is what I choose, there's this other balanced part that says, I'm open to all outcomes. I am at peace with all outcomes. And to find the balance of those two polarities, to be able to find that sweet spot between conscious, clear, intentional choice and absolute peace with all outcomes. That's the balancing act, you know.
That's the real stuff right there. There's end with this comment here from our friend Sridhar, and he says most people have trouble with focusing. No, don't have trouble with focusing. They have trouble with deciding. So that's what you did. That's what I'm doing. That's what a lot of us are doing. We're just, you know, we can make that choice. You know, you made a choice. I want to go to this thing when it comes around next year.
I'm going.
Yeah. But you weren't able to do it. You weren't able to do it. You didn't. You left it. You know, you left it. You purged it. And you go on to another creation.
Well, I didn't. I broke my neck first, but I'm never going to do that again. You know, and that was valuable, and that pain was valuable, and it was really great. But that was the perfect example of what not to do. I didn't accept all outcomes. I only accepted that one outcome, and when it became clear it wasn't going to happen, I broke, because I wasn't in that space of also being open to all outcomes.
But you haven't condemned yourself for it, and you've moved on to the next magical experience, which is going to be tomorrow.
Yes. Yay! I'm so excited. I'm so excited. Yeah.
Well, you have fun there. Let's catch up again in a few weeks. You should do some lives.
Would be cool.
Because if you do some lives, I'll download them and I'll put them in the channel feed, because they ought to be really good.
Awesome.
If you're amped up,
I'd love to.
That environment. Do some lives from over there. That's awesome. That's powerful.
I will, for sure.
I love you. You take care. Best to your son. I'm glad you're
love you too. So excited. So excited. Morgan's there in how many sleeps?
What's today? Thursday? 8 days. 8 or 7?
8 sleeps.
Right. 8 sleeps.
So excited. I thought we were going to be talking about sex. I was like, oh yeah, I know, that's the elephant in the room. All the, you know, you, me, and Morgan, all have been very celibate for a very long time. You two are coming back, but that's another conversation.
Yeah, that is, because I don't know anything about it. All right, I might come back on later. Take care, Fiona. Love you. See you later. See you later, everybody. Thank you for